We have multiple updates on two coaches leaving the Ohio State program. One you all already knew about, another one just announced this afternoon, and we have to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Columbus Football 365. If you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan, please hit that subscribe button. Only 5.9% of viewers are subscribed to the channel, but let's jump right into the video for today. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you watched Ohio State's offense struggle versus the Indiana Hoosiers defense in the Big Ten championship game. The Hoosiers have a extremely tough defense, surrendering the second least yards per game behind the Ohio State Buckeyes. More news that you are most likely aware of: Brian Hartline was announced last week that he will be moving on to the University of South Florida Bulls to be the head coach next season. Now, when you are a coach at any level or doing any job at any level, when your attention is going to be being split between your first job and a second job, your attention and your everything is going to get lower. You're not going to do as good of a job, and that's understandable. You now have more responsibilities and your attention is being split in more ways. The problem is Brian Hartline is still at Ohio State, and we need him to continue to be an offensive coordinator at a high level. It's no secret that Ohio State's offense was not good enough versus the Indiana Hoosiers, and it is mostly what led us to our first loss of the season. Now, Ryan Day spoke out about what is going on with Brian Hartline, saying, "I think Brian is doing everything that he possibly can to finish his time here the right way, and I appreciate that." So we're all involved with it, and we're all doing everything we can to make sure that we put the guys in the right situation to be successful. Now, yes, this is the right thing for Ryan Day to go out and say. I'm sure Brian Hartline is still trying to do the best job that he possibly can. It's just when you are having your attention split between two jobs, he flew down to South Florida to already do a press conference to talk to his new team. So it's not his fault that he's not able to do it's not his fault that he's not able to do the same level of job as he did earlier on in the season. And now, continuing from 24/7 Sports, the offensive coordinator will bear responsibility for any poor performance, especially when he's being pulled in two different directions, but it's not that straightforward. The Scarlet and Gray need to improve at finishing drives if the team wants to make another playoff run. Hartline, who flew to Tampa on Sunday to meet his new players and will be officially introduced as the Bulls' new head coach, will be tasked with balancing preparation for his first offseason as a head coach and helping Ohio State win a national championship at the same time. It's going to be extremely tough for Brian Hartline, but we know he's a great coach, and I have all the faith in the world that he's going to find a way to bounce back. And also, I see it in the comment sections, and I agree with people. It feels like, just like last season, we're holding back a little bit when it comes to plays and schemes in the not in the playoffs, so we can bring it out into the playoffs and hopefully have a run similar to what we saw last season. But there's a whole lot of things that went poorly against Indiana. A whole lot of it was offensive wise. Third down efficiency, only 4 for 12, 33.3%. That's not good enough. Went for it on fourth down one time, didn't pick it up, although I really like the fact that Ryan Day decided to go for it. We were only down by 3 in the fourth quarter, 4th down and 1 inside the red zone. We decided to go with a quarterback sneak instead of kicking the field goal and taking the easy 3 the reason why I love it is because going into that game, we had never even been trailing in the second half, and there was a situation with high nerves that Julian Sayin has never been in. So I thought it was a good idea to put him in a tough situation with pressure on him that he hasn't felt before, and hopefully, he handled it well. He, didn't get the first down, not completely his fault. Watching it did look like he was really slow to react to the snap. I mean, it looked like the offensive line fired and he just stuck there for a second and then went late, which, you'd like to see the QB sneak be executed a little bit better, but I would rather Julian Sayin mess up the quarterback sneak in the conference championship game instead of in the playoffs. So I really think it was a positive thing that he got that experience being in that tough situation and playing through it, even if we didn't win. I mean, of course, it would have been better to come out on the other side with a victory, but there are some good things to take away. It shows everyone on the team we're not an unbeatable force of nature. And more importantly, it makes guys mad and it makes you hungry because you remember what losing feels like. And it reminds you of last season where our final game going into the playoffs was an embarrassing loss to an unranked team up north. So we came out in the playoffs, first game at the Horseshoe versus the Tennessee Volunteers, galvanized, blew them out. Next week, we go to the Rose Bowl, play a team that we already lost to in the regular season, and blow them out as well. So I do think there are, call it copium if you want, but I do think there are some small positives that can be taken away from losing that game, in terms of winning the bigger prize, which is that national championship. But Ohio State, we got outgained against Indiana, only 322 yards. Julian Sayin throwing an interception, threw one against Michigan as well. We were not able to bounce back this time, but one of the important things that was mentioned by the article from 24/7 Sports was that Ohio State didn't finish. And we know at the end of the game, Julian Sayin couldn't pick up the fourth down. We missed the field goal. We were having to settle for field goal attempts and getting stopped on 3rd and short because we weren't finishing in the red zone, which, if you remember, finishing in the red zone has been one of Ryan Day's main points since the 3rd game of the season. I remember before we played the Ohio Bobcats, I believe that was the 3rd game of the year, Ryan Day was talking about how our Reds, or maybe it was actually the Ohio game, which is where we just couldn't score in the red zone. We kept making it there and hitting a wall. And Ryan Day pointed it out. He said, we have to do better here. And today it really, really hurt us. But on Saturday, it really, really hurt us. But the other point that Ryan Day has been pointing out as, if any flaw to point out for Ohio State over the course of the regular season, was the offensive line not being strong enough. And the offensive line coaching staff today actually took a hit as Ohio State's football's Marcus Johnson is leaving the program to help coach Arkansas's offensive line, according to a report from CBS Sports. Johnson joined Ohio State staff this year as an assistant offensive line coach behind head offensive line coach Tyler Bowen. Johnson is familiar with the SEC. His time in college football started as an offensive lineman at Ole Miss from 2001, the year I was born, to 2004. Johnson's time as a coach has featured stints with Duke, Mississippi State, Missouri, and Purdue. Johnson is the second member of Ohio State staff to accept a job prior to the college football playoff. Ohio State's offensive coordinator and receivers coach Brian Hartline was hired last week as South Florida's next head coach. Now, we've gone over Brian Hartline a lot, but we are now losing another coach. When it comes to offensive line play, do you expect losing an assistant coach to make the offensive line play fall off a cliff? I wouldn't expect that. I would expect the offensive line to continue to play at a similar level. Got to remember, we lost two Ohio State offensive linemen were drafted in the first round last year. The offensive line wasn't going to be as dominant this season, but it's been serviceable enough, and the offensive line is good enough where the rest of everything we have around it is going to be able to take this team to a championship. We just need to execute on the field. Bo Jackson, the freshman running back who looks amazing, is having one of the best years of a freshman in terms of yards since J.K. Dobbins. So if you saw the graphic on the screen that they put up during the game, it was J.K. Dobbins. It was some other fantastic freshman running backs for Ohio State, which is why, this offensive line, they're still doing their job. Wouldn't expect one coach to have that big of a difference, but we're going to see what the Brian Hartline, we're going to see if he is able to bounce back against our next matchup, which will be the victor of the Miami at Texas A&M game. I'm expecting that's going to be Texas A&M, but you never know. College football is unpredictable. Going to be exciting. Let's figure this thing out. Let's get this offense up and running. Hopefully this year's playoff push looks a whole lot like last year's. But that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch it all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And go Buckeyes.